We did it! We won! Preseason victory. How sweet it possibly is. What more could you possibly want than a big-time comeback win by Sean Clifford and company? Green Bay found their closer, down any amount of points in the fourth quarter. Just bring in Sean Clifford and things will be good to go. Fun to get a win. Better overall outcome. It's interesting. I think this might actually be in the antithesis of last week, where this felt better. You got to win. Whatever, that doesn't really matter again in at the end, the actual outcome. But some young players in this one. Anthony Belton struggled, I think, a little bit more. Had a couple injuries in this one. Hopefully Omar Brown is okay. So those things will be worth keeping an eye on a little bit more. It looked like at the very beginning, outside of Donovan Jennings, who had a tough time, that a couple of those other offensive linemen, Jordan Morgan, Sean Ryan at center, looked like they held up pretty well. El Gersma, definitely, again, the game is very much too big for him at the moment, but you can also see some fun stuff that he's able to do. I love just getting Sean Clifford on the move at the end. The 5 penalties by Belton in the first half that's a new one. Not sure I've ever seen anything quite like that. One of them looked pretty ticky-tacky, but I'll go back and review that. But regardless, it's Packers football. It's a lot of guys that will not make this team coming up in the couple of weeks that played, especially primarily in the second half. Not a ton of like big marquee standouts or anything like that. Looking forward to going back and reviewing this one on the condensed version, and then on the all 22. Should get the all 22 later today, so we'll start going through and grading that a little bit later today. But yeah, interesting one nonetheless. Good to see him get a victory and just have a little bit more fight, especially in the second half this week than maybe they did a week ago. I don't know that there's that much else to kind of take away. Again, the Belton penalties were certainly interesting. The end of the game is absurd. I think the ball moved enough at the end that it's interesting, at least. I don't care. I don't care if that should have been a catch and a touchdown or an incompletion or down at the 1. Touch your interception Seahawks, I guess. Touchdown Seahawks. Who knows? It was a very Fail Mary-esque sort of ending. Thank goodness it's just preseason and it doesn't alter. Can you imagine if that was the end of a regular season game and that was the potential call? That would have been a little bit more interesting, but I honestly didn't even look at it close. I thought the ball moved a little bit at the end. Whatever. Like I said, don't really care. I will get to all of your questions. I should have about, again, 45 minutes here, I would think, maybe a little bit more if we have a lot of questions. So appreciate the 250 of you who are already here in chat, including Pokey, who is a brand new Pack a Day podcast YouTube member. Appreciate that. Pokey710 and Joey Soper 6593, who is our third string quarterback. I still think it's probably Clifford. Excuse me. It wouldn't stun me if both Clifford and El Gersma made the practice squad. That's also something that could happen. But I think if you went into a game, we kind of talked about this in the pregame show today. If you went into this game with a number 3 quarterback needing a win, you're probably trying to get Sean Clifford through it more than you're trying to get El Gersma through it. But I think there's a little bit more talent there with El Gersma, but we'll see. There'll be one more preseason left for those two guys to go showcase themselves. Didn't think it was a bad, like a terrible performance from El Gersma. Had a couple good moments, a couple that were called back via penalty, then an interception that also got called back via penalty. Clifford just at the end, bootlegging his way, running around, a couple throws here and there, but fun outcome at the end of the day. Like I said, I'll get to as many questions as I can. Parsons, we'll get to Parsons trades stuff on another day there. Don't know that we need to dig into that too much. Belton and Haddon seemed to really struggle and thought Hopper had another good game. Did anyone else stand out to you, good or bad? I will agree that on both of those cases, I thought Belton is super talented, right? We saw some of the big time physical blocks that he was able to put on tape. You can also tell that he's going through some of those rookie moments and just trying to get aligned properly and figure out what his assignment is on the entire play. When he just has to go out and block, like once he has the assignment down and it's just, hey, block the guy out in front of you, it looks pretty darn good. And I think you have to be encouraged with that. I'm not looking for perfection right now out of Anthony Belton. There's going to be a growth curve there, but you can easily see why they were really intrigued by him in the second round. Now, that's not forgiving 5 penalties or anything like that. You need to get that stuff cleaned up. And you saw going into halftime how Matt LaFleur felt about Anthony Belton having all those penalties. He was not exactly too happy in that situation, but that is stuff that you can get cleaned up. The fact that he has all that raw natural talent, I'm still more bullish on that than I am concerned about the amount of penalties that happened in that game. It wasn't just the penalties either. There were times where on that one run play in the goal line, I think it was a Bonaconda, where the defensive lineman screamed right across his face. Like, that's just stuff that cannot happen. So that needs to get cleaned up as time goes on, but you can also see the raw natural talent that Anthony Belton is. So there's still enough to be excited about there, while also understanding a lot of work still left to be done for Luke Butkus and company as they try to get him playing at more an NFL level. Haddon was definitely a disappointing one as well. That's another one that I want to watch a little bit closer on the all-22, but it looked like he was giving up a lot of completions. I think he had a couple penalties as well. Penalties, again, an issue in this one. I think John Kuhn said it during the course of the broadcast, and he was talking about both teams. I think, in fact, he was talking about Indianapolis at the time. These are young, inexperienced players that are going out there and trying to make a play, and they don't want to be put on tape for, giving up a sack or doing something bad. So sometimes you get a little bit more over aggressive in those situations, and you get very panicky. You know that if something bad happens, it's going to be on tape, and you just get a little bit nervous in some of those situations. And I thought you could see some nervousness from both of these teams. And this is stuff that happens in all of these pretty garbagey preseason games. I do think the NFL, I know they don't care, but I do think the NFL needs to figure something out. And I don't know what the answer is. There probably just isn't one is probably the right answer, but it is a remarkably bad product. Like, you have to be somewhat of a sicko, which I appreciate all of you and myself for being, to try to get through that and just sort of force it down, because we're so starved for football that we're willing to just take table scraps at this point and be like, hey, it's football at least. But it's really, really ugly, really ugly. And I don't think the NFL cares. I think they understand that their bread is buttered by regular season, and this is just a ramp up to it. But it's a very ugly product in all phases, right? You've got guys that aren't football ready. You've got flags everywhere. The game is stopping and going. It's a really pathetic state of football if you're really watching it closely, or just if you're watching it casually for that matter. But again, I don't know that there's anything that you could do about it. But yeah, outside of that, again, I did think there was a couple plays from Hopper. There wasn't anyone. Marshawn Lloyd, of course, had that really nice wheel route. I thought he made a couple other nice runs as well. He did maybe have a couple, I don't know if I would consider them drops, but plays that he definitely could have made, even though they were probably difficult, that were, interesting. Cornelius Johnson, 3 catches, 41 yards, including that one pluck out of the air on a pretty big bullet on 4th down. I thought that was a really nice play. Deslin Alexander not only had the sack, but I think he had a play on special teams, if I remember correctly, as well. So there's a couple things, but this is definitely going to be one of those that in order to get a real feel for who performed really well and who didn't, this is one I'm going to have to go and grade through. And like I said, I'll start that process later today and should have that done probably by tomorrow at the latest. All right. We talked about that. Joey, thank you for the super chat as well. Excited to be able to join live. I couldn't really watch the game. Please tell me Bo Melton can do it for real. Yeah, I guess that's probably one of the other positives. He had a really nice pass breakup, had another play, tackling that he came up and made a physical play. He looks the part. I don't know that he's not corner 4 at the moment, which feels just absurd to say. I think he's probably at a Kalen King, Micah Robinson. Kamal Haddon had a tough game today. We didn't see much from Corey Ballantyne. Like, he might just be in that role already, which again feels beyond absurd. What he is doing is crazy. It doesn't feel like he was a wide receiver 3 months ago. 3 months. He was a wide receiver. And even then, like up to the beginning of training camp, just a month ago, we didn't even know he was going to make a transition to corner until that time. A month ago, not even like 3 weeks ago. And all of a sudden he looks like he might be the number 4 corner. That is just beyond wild what he is doing right now. So really good job to him for figuring this out on the fly and looking that this might be something that they can actually do. Now, whether or not it would actually work in the regular season and they can get away with that a little bit more, that's something totally different. But even this is pretty remarkable for what he's been able to accomplish so far. Matthew, thank you for the chat, and thank you for being a member for 16 months. Which DBs that played today make the team? Yeah, we were kind of talking about this, but Bo Melton, it feels like, was probably the leader in the clubhouse right now. And then this is one that I think we go into the 3rd preseason game saying, hey, go make the team. Kamal Haddon, Kalen King, Micah Robinson, Corey Ballantyne. Those are the 4. It might just be one spot for the 4 of them. If Bo Melton's the 4th, you kind of consider Javon Bullard as one of those as well. It probably depends on where Nate Hobbs is. If Nate Hobbs is not ready for week 1, you probably for sure need to keep 6 and keep an extra one there. If he is ready for week 1, then it probably is a little bit less of an issue. But there could be one spot for Kalen King, Kamal Haddon, Micah Robinson, and Corey Ballantyne, and what direction they would go in with that would be interesting. If they do keep 6, even then, I think any of those 4 could get those final 2 spots. So this is definitely one that goes into next week to let this play out a little bit more. But I will say, it looks like Bo Melton is the leader in the clubhouse for one of those spots between everyone. And unless something shocking happens, it looks like he's going to make this team, which is really, really, really incredible. Seeing Tenuta and Goodson brought me back, I'm assuming is what you meant there. Yeah, good for Tyler Goodson. Goodson was one of those preseason darlings in Green Bay, just didn't have a spot for him, found his way to Indianapolis eventually. Now, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I think he had like a big drop was it a big drop in a playoff game? It like really cost Indianapolis in that particular situation. Or maybe it was like an end of the season game where they like absolutely had to have a win. It was something like that where he had a play that really cost them. And you kind of wondered if that was going to affect him. And he's still been able to, kind of really maintain his spot in Indy and make a really good career out of it. So kudos to him. That was he was a really fun story in Green Bay when he was there. Tenuta never really did much in Green Bay, but they definitely kept him around. And for a while, it looked like they had potential plans for him. And so good to see him kind of bounce back and revitalize his career a little bit. Quarter 3, Colts field goal on TV looked like me. A duck hook that went straight through. Is that the fault of a camera angle or a great kicker? I don't know. I guess probably a great kicker. I think I know the one that you said like kind of knuckled a little bit. I think that was probably a little bit more planned, where he was kind of kicking it to the outside with it kind of knuckling in a little bit, but without knowing what he was actually trying to accomplish on that play, I wouldn't be able to say for sure. But hey, at the end of the day, just get it through the 2 yellow posts and job well done either way. He got it through, so kudos to him. Let's get back to the top here. Just watched the first half, like what I saw from Jordan Morgan, but Anthony Bolton has been absolutely terrible. This game he keeps getting beat and giving up big plays by committing dumb penalties. Yeah, we talked about him. The talent's there. There's no question about that. Now you just have to let the game settle down for him a little bit, work on his technique, make sure that he's not having pre and post snap penalties. This is a rookie hang with him for sure. But you also saw a couple plays where he's just going out there and mauling some people too, which is exactly what you want to see. So now it's just, kind of putting the pieces together, and you just have to build that foundation for him. Get the fundamentals right first, get that footwork and that technique cleaned up. Once that comes, and of course, make sure that the pre-snap stuff doesn't happen. I did think one of those, the first, illegal formation penalty it looked very ticky-tacky, but I'll have to go back and look at it again as well. But overall, talented, but definitely a very incomplete project at the moment. Was Carly Ursay Gordon on? I do not know. We don't need to touch on that. Andy, I love you for all you do. I listen to every single episode. I swear you're the best. Greetings from Germany, and go Pack Go. Kevin, that is very kind of you. And that's awesome that you're in Germany. Hope you enjoy the game today. Thanks for the chat. Talk to me about Monk, Lacita Smith's increased chances, and Isaiah Simmons, please. I will say it's a much better game from Monk. Again, I'm going to have to go through and watch every single one of those snaps to have a really great feel of if it was much better, but definitely cleaned up the errors. And I thought, again, outside of Donovan Jennings, Monk, Ryan, Belton, and Morgan early on in the game felt like they were giving Malik Willis some time in a couple of really clean pockets. So I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, that we see a little bit better and improved play from Jacob Monk this week. When I go back and watch it. Lacita Smith, I was watching a little bit at the end. He looks very confident playing center. We have not seen, as far as I know, any center exchange issues from him. It was late in the game. We're probably talking practice squad for Lacita Smith, but I tweeted it out during the game. You have 7 locks to make the offensive line. Monk is probably the 8th by default. And then anyone else with O-line next to their name has every right to go and earn that number 9 spot, whether that's Lacita Smith or Donovan Jennings, who I thought had a tough game today. Kadeem Telford. I mean, any of those guys go out and earn it. But Lacita Smith's an interesting one. Probably more practice squad, competing for that at this point than the 53. But first glance, I thought he had a nice day. He was more with like the 3s at the back end of the game, but still thought he did well. Daniel Whelan, MVP, dude doesn't miss, absolute stud. He's been on a tear, that's for sure. Oh, I forgot to say about Isaiah Simmons before. Simmons looked lost again, from what I saw. Long way to go for him, but it has not been an encouraging 2 games defensively. Now, we always knew he was going to probably make his primary, impact on special teams, and that is still there for him. But I'm getting to the point with Simmons where if there's packages or ideas of using him on defense, I think you have to kind of scrap those. He just doesn't look like he has a full grasp or understanding. And remember, they've kind of like simplified it for him, put him in just a couple spots so that his head's not maybe spinning quite as much. His head still looks spinning out there, and it has not been an impressive couple weeks. And this is what we saw on tape in, Arizona with New York. He's a very exciting player and a tantalizing player because of all the athletic traits. Just when he's out on the field, it doesn't translate. And we've seen that in these first 2 preseason games. It's not over. He's got another preseason game to prove himself. The fact that he was in that game as much as he was shows that he has work to do. And maybe they're trying to get him more reps so that he can get those banked in and really like learn the defense a little bit more. But it was not pretty for a good chunk of the day. Isaiah Simmons had some big misses. Melton could be on the team as a corner. Yeah, we talked about both of those. Wilson looked great. How does he fit in? I know you tweeted about it, but the dude's got to be on the team. I've said from pretty much the beginning, I think this is a 4 running back team. I don't think they want to cut any of these. The one thing I will say is that Amar Johnson does look like he's pretty good. I'm not quite as high on Abanikanda. I think he's a practice squad guy, but Amar Johnson's like fringe. Amar Johnson might be one of those like 4A players where he probably is a little bit better than to be on the practice squad, but he might not quite be good enough to be on a 53. He's probably right in the middle there. If they like him enough, you could potentially cut an Emmanuel Wilson and say, hey, we'll try to get Wilson back in the practice squad. If not, Amar Johnson should probably be there anyway. But I'm probably not willing to go quite that far in that direction. If it's me, I probably want to keep the top 4, and then I probably want to get Abanikanda and Amar Johnson back in the practice squad if I can. To me, and what I tweeted out, and we've talked about this in the past as well, with Josh Jacobs being the one, he's going to get the vast majority of the carries. You probably want Marshawn Lloyd to be the change of pace and the exciting, dynamic, thunder or lightning to the thunder, if you will. And then Chris Brooks is going to be the third down back and doing all the other little stuff. I don't know that there's a role for Emmanuel Wilson on game day. He might be the second best running back. And if there were an injury to Josh Jacobs, you're probably wanting Emmanuel Wilson in there a good chunk of the time to be kind of your primary ball carrier. So that's kind of his role, where he might be inactive on game days if he's on your 53, as long as the other 3 are healthy, because you really don't need him. But if Jacobs were to go down, he probably becomes the true kind of top running back. It's an interesting dynamic. I'm interested to see how they're going to sort of navigate that. But it was a really nice day for Emmanuel Wilson. Great to see him back out there. And that play where the play where he caught the ball along the sidelines. First of all, he's really worked to improve his hands. So that was a great thing to see. But then you saw everything that made Wilson Wilson. That is a big dude that turned the corner and was flying down the sideline. Like, he has remarkable speed for his size. And then there's a guy in front of him, and he's just like, all right, buckle up, buddy, and just runs right through him. Like, that's a big time play from Emmanuel Wilson. I love his mentality. It was great to see him back out there today. Go Pack Go. Thank you, Pokey. Also, maybe I was wrong earlier. McManus might be the MVP and he didn't even play. Yeah, that was a rough showing for McNamee. That's a tough gig, right? He is coming over from Ireland, trying to get acclimated to American football. There's going to be an acclimation period, and missing an extra point and a field goal is probably a little bit of a piece of that, but this game could have even been better for Green Bay had the kicking just been a little bit better for Green Bay. Frustrating Nair has 2 impressive touchdowns today if the quarterbacks put the ball out in front of him to go get. Yeah, there were some misses on everything, right? There were some, I thought, receivers that could have done some things better. There were quarterbacks that could have maybe thrown a little bit better, put the receivers in better position. Such is the life in, second half of preseason football, to say the least. Quarterback controversy, Love or Clifford? Not quite. That was a bizarre ending. It very much was. Very, very much was. That ending was, as a Packers fan, I don't feel good about winning that way. To me, that looked like a touchdown, but I guess that's why I'm not a ref. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I have not gone through the replay close enough. I was just happy that it was done at that point. I'm like, oh, thank God we don't have to go through anything more. It's over. It's mercifully over, but I'll take the victory, I guess, at that point. We won. That Colts guy 100% scored. It looked like that's one of the things where, like, if we're all just talking in like the court of public opinion, we're all calling that a touchdown, right? Take the rules aside. Like, I don't know what the exact minutia of the rule of what a catch and isn't, and if it hit the ground or whatever. If there's 10 drunk people at the bar watching that, and you're like, no stakes, whatever, right? You don't have a horse in the race. Is that a touchdown or no touchdown? Even the drunk idiots are saying, yeah, that's a touchdown. That's all I'll say about it. Whether it should or shouldn't be, whatever. In this case, I don't care. If that was a regular season game, I probably would have cared quite a bit. I'm so confused. NFL, what is a catch? They don't know. What is a touchdown? They also don't know. What is incomplete? They don't know. Consistent officiating? No. Come on. It's wild, some of the inconsistent officiating stuff. Now, this did end up being more of a flag fest, as the game went on. Early, it looked like they were going to let him play, and then they decided, actually, we're just going to start throwing flags everywhere. The inconsistency is crazy. I'll just say this. It's one of those things where there's certain inconvenient truths that we have to get used to. Injuries are always going to be a part of this, and we just have to get used to that every single year. Contract negotiations for star players are just going to be a part of this. We're going to have to get used to that for years to come. Inconsistent officiating is going to be part of this, and we're just going to have to get used to that. Like, these are just inconvenient truths of being an NFL fan. Poor officiating, injuries, or just inconsistent officiating, injuries, and I don't even remember contract stuff, right? Like, it's just going to be stuff that we have to go through every single year. And you hope that your team gets through the year relatively healthy. You hope that your team does not have any bad calls go against you. And you hope that you're able to kind of navigate that throughout the course of the year, that you don't have maybe a player that's holding out for a large chunk of time due to a contract situation. And guess what? If you can navigate those things and don't have any awful calls go against you, you don't have a ton of injuries, and the contracts are good, you're usually set up for a pretty good season if that ends up being the case. And you kind of need some of that luck as the course of the year goes along. Very wild ending. We should have lost to a bean. What a performance by him at the end, by the way. I think the ball did kind of just jar loose a little bit at the end. Again, I don't even want to like debate this. I don't because I don't care. And I don't think it gets us anywhere, because that same play is probably called a touchdown next week. That's probably the inconvenient truth of it as well. Haddon did feel like he had a rough day. Lost possession in the end, but yeah, either way, it's preseason. It doesn't matter much. I could see it that way. It's one that I probably just want to be a touchdown, honestly. Like, reverse the roles, right? Put Green Bay in the catch in that situation and Indianapolis on the other side. We probably want that to be a touchdown, is the way that I'd put that. If that were, if that were John Fitzpatrick going up to get that ball, or Ben Sims going up to get that ball at the end, on a throw from Sean Clifford, I think we'd all be saying, you just got to give a touchdown there. Like, we would have wanted it to be a touchdown. I'll put it that way. What are your thoughts on Marshawn Lloyd, and did Matthew Golden do anything? Matthew Golden did not play. He did not play a single snap. He was dressed originally and was in a baseball cap along the sideline. So it was clear that they, kind of got him ready to play. Probably decided at the end it didn't make any sense. What were they going to gain out of it? So he did not actually play in the game. Marshawn Lloyd, I want to go back and watch a little bit closer. I thought there were a couple of runs that he ran well. The wheel route looked awesome, and it just kind of shows you again some of the dynamic playmaking he has. The one blitz pickup on the side was an interesting one. I liked his read on it. The fact that he got out there to the side was good. I want to go back and watch that blitz pickup one more time. He did enough to get in the way initially, but then didn't. And then he kind of released in the flat, and then it looked like he had a chance to catch it, but didn't. So just a couple little nuanced things there, but you can see some of the stuff. And it's hard to gauge when you're with backup offensive linemen as well, to like what that would look like if you actually had the starters out there. But I think some good, some bad for Lloyd, and something to build off of. And hopefully he didn't actually get hurt on that wheel route on that play. It seemed like he was walking around after that. Packers coach Matt LaFleur called Omar Brown's injury a scary deal. He is staying overnight. Ooh, that's not great for Omar Brown, because of a chest contusion. All right, well, hopefully he's okay. Matt LaFleur says, we'll see, when asked if Lloyd is okay. Took a big hit. So that's not a great sign either, that it's a we'll see on Marshawn Lloyd. All right, there you go. Scary deal on Omar Brown. We'll see on Marshawn Lloyd. Ugh, hate hearing that. He's just been way too snake bit. That is very, very frustrating if he is hurt at all. But hopefully not. Hopefully he's back early next week. The anti-Fail Mary, yes, very much. Was Lloyd supposed to play more, because it looked like he was a little shaken up after that catch and we never saw him back on the field? Don't know if he was supposed to play more, but Matt LaFleur just again said we'll see on the injury for Marshawn Lloyd. Yeah, I'm not sure I get it either. Carry Matt LaFleur off the field like Bill Walsh. I did joke. I said, now that Matt LaFleur had this big comeback win, we should be hearing a lot more about those contract discussions with Matt LaFleur and getting that extension done. It sounds ridiculous, right? After a preseason game, same way it sounds ridiculous if you're calling to fire Matt LaFleur after a preseason game. I digress. Thought Lloyd showed some of his potential in being so versatile, but did he get injured on that play? It sounds like he might have. We'll have to find out this week if he is hurt or not. Quarterback battle getting interesting between Clifford's legacy game and Elgersma's first real playing time. By the way, we need a nickname for Elgersma. I'm thinking, Jeremy, Air Canada is the Elgersma nickname, by the way. I think Nagler came up with that one, but I really like the Air Canada one. And yes, nice job by Clifford at the end for sure. How are people going to overreact to this one? I don't know. I don't think they will. I think for the most part, people are a little bit more on the calm side this week. It's a preseason game. We're living vicariously through it. That's all we can do. No starters. I don't think anyone's taking too much from it. Fingers crossed, hopefully. Your undefeated preseason take was about to look real bad, Andy, but Johnson was looking out for you. I appreciate that. I actually had a call into the refs. They asked, I said, hey, if this gets close at the end, can you do me a favor? And can you make a call to make this go so it doesn't like get to 0-2? And they took care of me. So appreciate the referees for that one. Yeah, this is what I've talked about Hicks quite a bit. Hicks and Deslin Alexander, two players that I talk about that have, I don't think, any real chance to make the team or fighting for practice squad spots. But if you needed Hicks as a number 5 or 6 wide receiver going into a game, or if you needed Deslin Alexander for 8 to 10 plays as a emergency backup going into a game, I think they can hang. I think they can handle it. That's not the most exciting thing to say, right? But sometimes when you get through the course of the season, those practice squad call-ups matter, and you don't know when a guy is going to be needed for a handful of snaps. And with Hicks and with Deslin Alexander, I feel like if you needed to give them a handful of snaps, that they would go out there and compete for you. And it wouldn't be like, oh my God, what is this guy doing out there? Hicks is a fun player. He battles. He doesn't have that it trait to go out and do anything spectacular, but he's just good at his job. And it's unfortunate he doesn't maybe have a little bit more of that juice or something a little bit more dazzling to his game, but he's a fun player. And I thought he showed that today with 2 really impressive catches, even though you won't see it on the box score. LaFleur laughing as they shook hands is all you need to know about NFL officiating. That's probably well said. I love Elgersma. He played well, and I love the willingness to take on and create contact. He had a fun game. I thought there were a lot of like little fun performances. Hicks, Deslin Alexander, Sean Clifford, Taylor Elgersma, Amar Johnson is another one of those. There were a lot of like fun, gritty, tough, I guess, like the roster guys that are probably not going to be there, but are fighting for practice squad spots, things like that. Some gritty performances from those type of players. Did Matt LaFleur mention if the starters will play next week? I have not seen the press conference yet. His initial plan was to play the starters week 1, not play them week 2, and then play them a little bit in week 3. We'll see if he follows through with that. It does sound like Jordan Love, of course, will not play next week with the thumb injury, but we'll see what he does with the rest of the starters after that. Yeah, good for Amar Johnson. He's had a really nice start to training camp and preseason. Hopefully he can continue that. And he would be a fantastic practice squad signing for Green Bay if they could get him back there. Belton had a rough day too, for sure. It was electric in the building. Is that true? I know there were a lot of Packer fans there, which is great. Andy, good win for the Pack. Been thinking about hypotheticals for a Parsons trade. I'd rather Green Bay trade Quay than Gary or LVN with the picks it will require. He looks pissed and out of it. Yeah, again, I don't know that we need to spend too much time on the Parsons thing. I wouldn't get too hyped up about it either way. Do not expect him to be a Green Bay Packer. Again, it's fun to talk about, but yeah, whether it's, what player would go back, we can all have our kind of conjecture on it. I would not trade Gary in that situation. I think the reason you do that is so that you can have Gary and Parsons across from each other, 2 very different types of edge rushers. But yeah, again, we'll cross that bridge if and when we need to. I realize that I'm not supposed to care what our third stringers do, but I am fired up. Hey, John, go for it, my man. Go for it. Get fired up. Get excited. I love that. Yeah, that's the other big one with Barron Sorrell, knee injury. I haven't seen anything yet that came through from Barron Sorrell sustained a knee injury. Matt LaFleur says the Packers will evaluate him when the team returns to Green Bay. So just a knee injury. So it seems Omar Brown, Marshawn Lloyd, Barron Sorrell, 3 of the injuries coming out of this game. Not ideal. Not 3 names that you definitely want to hear with injuries when you didn't play many people. Marshawn Lloyd and Barron Sorrell, probably 2 of the more important players that you did play in that game, and unfortunately you get 2 injuries out of it. Quick hits. 1, I needed something. Marshawn, you gave me a wheel route. Box checked. 2, thank goodness for our starting offensive line. Wolf Jennings. 3, thank goodness for McManus. 4, Melton. 5, Hicks. Yeah, that's a perfect recap, R.R. Smith. Nice, succinct, beautiful. And I might just steal that for my episode tomorrow. This is just, it's a 30-second episode brought to you by R.R. Smith. How'd the punt returns look? I haven't been able to watch the game yet. Hardman had one for like 4 or 5 yards, something like that. Well, I guess it was 10 yards. There you go. 1 punt return, 10 yards for Hardman on the day. What first rounder do you think is a bigger key to our season, LVN or Golden? I'll say LVN. I think at the end of the day, yeah, LVN. If LVN's really good, that makes your defense so much better and gives you a lot more opportunity to get to the quarterback, create, havoc, and probably get your team better field position and maybe get some more turnovers. If Matthew Golden's not good, I still feel like once you get Watson back, Watson, Wicks, Reed, Dobbs, Savion Williams, you still have players there. Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, Josh Jacobs. You still have plenty of weapons on offense. So I'm going to go LVN there, but Matthew Golden should have a very big role as well. I forgot, is Elgersma eligible to be the international player? He is not. Who makes the safety room now? I don't think anything has changed there at all, Nick. If you're assuming the Omar Brown injury is if I'm assuming Omar Brown's what you're talking about there, I don't think Omar Brown was going to make it either way. He probably would have been a practice squad priority, but I still think this is, McKinney, Bullard, Williams, Oladapo, and then we'll see where Zane Anderson's at come cut down time. But those are probably your 5, and I don't think much has changed there. Elgersma making the practice squad, lock it in. He very much could. But, we thought last year, Michael Pratt was going to potentially make the roster, much less the practice squad, and he didn't make either. And I would argue that Pratt had looked better last year than maybe Elgersma has this year in totality, and Green Bay had no interest. So we'll see. I think there's a chance that he does make it, though, for sure. Punt returns were pretty average, nothing special yet, just 1 for 10 yards. I'm not sure Simmons is going to beat out Hopper. Yeah, Hopper probably is, arguably in that conversation for the 3rd best linebacker. My guess is McDuffie gets a lot of those reps, but man, Simmons might have to work to make the team at this point. I don't know that he's a lock to make the team. He's had a rough couple weeks. Thought Bo Melton had another pretty good game. Did you see it differently? I did not. I thought he had a good game as well, but again, I'll look at the all-22 and see if anything else stands out when we get to that. Hey, Andy and friends, it's a Packers victory Saturday and Luigi's victory Saturday. Well said. And I should mention today, I got so excited with the win. Our post-game show today is presented by Luigi's Frozen Pizza. So really appreciate them sponsoring today's show. Make sure to go check them out, luigispizza.com. And I want to make sure that I am getting this correct as well, because they have a new product that's out there and I have not had the opportunity to try it yet. And when I say that I am insanely excited to try it, that is a vast understatement. All right, so they have a brand new gourmet pizza parlor on sale at $3.99 right now at Woodman's. That is a budget-friendly pizza that is still unbelievably tasty. 5 flavors: pepperoni, sausage, and pepperoni, supreme sausage, and they also have cheese fries. So gourmet pizza parlor, and they are on sale right now at Woodman's. Luigi's Gourmet Pizza. And I'm looking at these right now, and they look incredible. And for $3.99, that is absolutely insane. So yeah, definitely going to be checking that out very, very soon. And they got the sweet Luigi sign right above it too. So yeah, definitely go and check those out. And again, appreciate Luigi's Pizza for sponsoring today's show. Again, follow them on social media at Luigi's Pizza. Saw nothing from Simmons again this week. I wish I saw nothing from Simmons. Nothing would have been better than I think what we saw from Simmons, but hopefully there's a couple plays in there. He did have that big stuff at the goal line. Hopefully there's a couple other plays like that maybe went a little bit unnoticed in the first time watch through, and hopefully there's a couple more on the all-22. Yeah, a lot. It's just ugly football, very ugly football, which we knew going into the game it was going to be ugly. It was ugly. At least like the Colts played their starters and it was ugly. At least the Packers played their backups and it was ugly. All right, Isaiah Simmons is on the screen like every single play, good or bad. Wild experience with him, maybe with Barry. I don't know where that was going, but yeah, he's a little bit of a roller coaster. Unfortunately, too many dips right now on that roller coaster ride. Not enough heights on it. We talked about that. Indy played their first way longer than we did our seconds. That's actually true. maybe I'm actually getting too crazy of a fan, but I actually enjoyed this game a lot, even though it was uglier. Well, it was at least entertaining at the end, right? You had a drive by, Green Bay to go down and take the lead. And then you had a drive by Indianapolis to try to win the game at the end. Like, at least there's some level of stakes and entertainment that went along with it. And it was a closer game, and it wasn't just a one-sided 30-10 blowout. So I totally get that, Beast Bumblebee. I don't think you're crazy. It was certainly a much better and enjoyable experience than that first week was. But in the scheme of all things football, still very ugly overall. I couldn't watch the full game, watch the first quarter and a little of the second. Then I played my sniper game. Super boring. I also do not blame you for that. Go Brewers. What time do they play today? I didn't even check. I know they play today, obviously, but I haven't checked the 540 against Cincinnati today. That game yesterday, that was the first one where I'm like, all right, well, they'll take the L on this one and then bounce back tomorrow. And they're like, no, we'll just come back and win this one. They are unbelievable right now. With poor offensive line play that we often see in preseason from backups, is it hard for coaches to evaluate other? Absolutely. I mean, it's not just offensive line play, right? Bad quarterback play can really go into this. This is why it's such a fake game. It's not real. Kirk Benkert, by the way, is like complaining about, Green Bay in this one. It's like, dude, you're missing the point entirely. So let me just make sure that I'm getting Benkert's stuff correct here. But it's just kind of missing the point. And you could tell there was maybe a little bit of bitterness involved in it as well. He said, all right, quote, I don't care that it's preseason. The product the Packers have put on the field looks disgusting. The games don't matter, but have some pride in the performance, at least a little bit. I dealt with this when I was there. We played against the Jets' first team defense for an entire half, and we're completely unprepared for their nickel double mug package. It's frustrating when you're trying to put your best foot forward and you're not given a schematic chance. My friend, it is not meant for you to be put in a schematic of advantage. They do not care if you are going out there and winning the game. They want to see how players respond. You're not scheming things up for that particular situation. You don't even want to put on tape what you would do if you were scheming up things in that situation. They're not trying to put you in the exact best position to succeed. They're evaluating you based on the position that you are in. They know that you're getting, maybe double A gap blitz, which, by the way, is a weak sauce thing that sometimes you're going to get from different teams that are trying to maybe do a little bit more exotic stuff in preseason for no reason whatsoever. Green Bay is on the right side and being like, yeah, we're not going to put a bunch of stuff out there. We're going to call a lot of very simple stuff. We're more evaluating how you go about doing your job, your assignments, the thing that we're asking you to do on that particular play. Did you run the right route? Did you understand the checks? Were you aligned properly? And then how did you handle that double A gap blitz? Were you able to adjust anything on it? So no, they're not game planning you for that going in. It's not what the preseason is for. The preseason is for the evaluation on how you do things. So it's just a total missed point altogether of you're not supposed to always be put in this super advantageous position in a preseason game. That's not what it's for. You're not going out and spending the week game planning for the New York Jets defense and what they might do in a preseason game. What a waste of time that would be. You'd be so much better off spending the entire week game planning for Detroit in week 1 than trying to put together what you think the Jets are going to call in quarter 4 of a completely meaningless preseason game. So yeah, it's just that's, and I did think that Green Bay played with a lot more pride and energy and intensity in this one. Yeah, some dumb mistakes by some young and inexperienced players that will need to get cleaned up. But that again is pretty low on my list of concerns. The concerns I would have coming out would be the injuries. And that's kind of it. I don't have much else because this is not real football. That's not what this is designed to be. It's more of an evaluation tool for the coaches to see what's not going well, what is going well, and trying to figure out ultimately which of these guys you want on your 53-man roster. My issue is there were plenty of style holds that Colts offensive line got away with that Green Bay was flagged for. Either call it or don't. Yeah, I mean, it's fair. There was a couple of those for sure. I saw Brinson. I mean, the hands to the face on Brinson. And just all over the place. Again, preseason football, the refs are going through it. The players are going through it. It's just unfortunately very ugly. Isaiah Simmons was on the screen like every single play, good or bad. Yep, we talked about that. Welch looked pretty solid. That's just the Christian Welch experience, right? Christian Welch, pretty solid. That's Christian Welch in a nutshell. You don't really need to know too much else. It's pretty solid. That's it. Never spectacular. Usually never bad. He's pretty solid. I thought Steno was calling preseason. It looked like Matt LaFleur was calling plays at the end today, or was that an illusion? I didn't see it, Lenny. I'd be surprised if Matt was calling plays. My guess is he was probably conversing, or maybe he called a play at the end on something. Maybe there was something that he liked and he jumped in and called something. That could be the case as well. Maybe he changed it for week 2 and did do some play calling. I'm not exactly sure, but usually it's Steno or one of the other offensive coaches that get involved in that, so he can focus on the game a little bit more in preseason and some of those evaluations. How would I compare Aaron Rodgers to Brett Favre? I don't know. That's an odd question for a preseason game. I just think Favre had more enjoyment playing the game, was like a kid out there, and was that true gunslinger mentality, whipping it around the yard. Not always the greatest with the X's and O's, but just a laser rocket arm and a ultra competitor and unbelievably tough. Was never going to come out. Aaron, to me, a little bit more of the X's and O's, the kind of that assassin mindset, checks at the line of scrimmage, trying to gain every little advantage that he could. Took stuff from Brett with the hard count and the cadence and some of the stuff that he learned there, but also just a complete opposite when it is when you're thinking about turning over the football. Brett was like, I'm gonna find a way to throw this in there. I don't care if there's 7 defenders in the way. Aaron's like, if there's a player in the vicinity, we are not throwing that football. So 2 very different mindsets, 2 Hall of Famers, 2 quarterbacks we were very lucky to get to experience in Green Bay for 30 years. I like the upside potential from Belton with how much he's moving some dudes. Absolutely. We've talked about this, but high end upside, but a lot to clean up from a technical standpoint. Melton must have immense athletic ability to make the defensive back transition after only 3 months. It's not just that, right? You have to have like the mentality, which we've seen. You have to have the tackling ability. I think the fact that he's played so much special teams has certainly helped him as well in this transition. All right, I like that we got a solid 7 offensive linemen. You talked about this before the last draft. Yeah, that's the hope. I think we need to see a little bit more from Belton from a technical standpoint. But yeah, overall, I think you feel good about the overall depth that you have with the 7 guys at the top of this offensive line. Amar Johnson should make the practice squad at least at this point. He will at least get offered. I mean, I think that's a no-brainer. I don't think he's going to make the 53. He'll at least get offered for the practice squad. Now it just depends if he accepts or if he wants to take something somewhere else. Wilson with the big fumble. Ruski, did Heath have drops in this game? I don't think Heath dropped anything. And yes, Wilson did have the fumble. That was a pretty strong punch right on the ball. Kudos to the defender, but that's still going to be a pretty big negative in Emmanuel Wilson's day with that fumble for sure. Steno's play calling got better as the game went on. No, what happened is you didn't have your 2s and 3s going against their 1s. Once your 2s and 3s were going against their 2s and 3s, all right, well, now you were able to move the ball a little bit better and do some things. When your 3rd stringers are going up against their starters, there's not many play calls in the playbook to call in that situation. That's just a good luck and hope something good happens, because it's usually going to go very poorly. We don't know if Marshawn Lloyd's okay. The hope is that he is, but Matt LaFleur didn't give a huge update on that. Convinced Brinson over Stackhouse easy. I'm in that boat as well, but I want to see how this one looked. I thought Brinson had a couple plays that flashed. I did see one from Brinson that was not great either, but that is a little bit expected. I didn't see much from Stackhouse, but this is another one that the all 22 will be much more helpful on that. Yeah, we don't know about Lloyd. Carla, thank you so much for gifting 10 Pack a Day podcast memberships. You are incredible. Hope we got some great people that got some new memberships. Devin says, thank you. Didn't even know Andy was live. Got the gift notification and hopped in. There you go, Devin. That's awesome. Whelan is a beast. I love our punter. Hopefully we don't need to see him all that much, but it is a nice weapon to have when you do need it. That's for sure. How would I compare? Eli, what are we doing here, Eli? How would I compare Matt LaFleur to Mike McCarthy? I don't know. They're both head coaches in the NFL. I don't know that I have a great take on that at the moment. All right, Anthony's going to answer for me. Appreciate you, Anthony. I like Mike McCarthy more as a head coach and Matt LaFleur more as a play caller with better situational awareness. There's a little more nuance than that, but sure, why not? Is Hopper really worse than McDuffie, or just getting Hopper much needed experience? I think you know exactly what. I think the coaches know exactly what McDuffie is. The hard thing with McDuffie is he very rarely makes like mental mistakes. Like whatever you coach him to do, he does almost every single time. It's not always the most dynamic player, struggles in coverage a little bit, but when you ask him to do something, he does it. And a lot of it is, sometimes teaching tape level stuff with the way that he goes about playing linebacker. But it's like overall, it's like an okay experience, right? It's not bad. It's not great. It's just, it's fine. With Hopper, I think there's a lot more upside there, but he needs to get to the level that when you ask him to do something, he's going to do it the right way. And then you're going to probably put him out there more because of the upside that he has. So I think Hopper is just trying to get, more reps down, understand his assignments a little bit better, the playbook a little bit better. And if and when he does that, you will probably see him upgrade to the number 3 linebacker spot. Ball moved, lost control, going to the ground. Easy call. Could be. Don't care, but sure. Petition to have the refs be 10 drunken guys instead of those who study the rule book. Sure. Why not? It would probably be the same, to be honest. Also, like, not to get off on a tangent here as well, but like on the Premier League yesterday, there was a handball in the Liverpool game. It was an obvious goal scoring opportunity, handball reviewed by VAR, and they still got it wrong. And it's like, if we're going to get those wrong, and I know they gave a BS excuse later, but if you're going to get those wrong, like, why are we even doing VAR? If you're going to go in same thing with replay in the NFL is my point. Like, if we're going to do all this stuff and we're going to get calls wrong anyway, and I'm not saying the one in today's game was right or wrong, but like, if we're going to have all of this stuff and we're still not going to get it right, like, let's just have the refs get it wrong in real time and keep the game going. That is where I'm at a little bit more, but there's no perfect answer. That's for sure. And yes, it is preseason for the refs too. I think that Hicks is at very least a practice squad guy for sure. That one-hander had me damn near out of my seat. It was a heck of a play. But what you want to see, right? A little bit more separation from that than that. Give the quarterback a little bit more of a space to put that. It's a great catch, no question. But you need to see the dynamic. Did he do anything after the catch? Right? In those situations, he couldn't. Don't get me wrong. And I like Hicks, trust me. But when you're evaluating a wide receiver, if your big thing is that, hey, at the point of attack, he's coming up with some good catches, awesome. But is he separating? Is he a run after the catch guy? Is he a deep ball threat? If those answers are no, so you basically need to be one of 3 things in the NFL. Okay, as a wide receiver, as you're evaluating wide receivers, you need one of these 3 things. Number 1 is, can I get it to you short, meaning wide receiver screen, and you can take it the distance? If I can get you on very short plays and scheme things up for you, and you can just do your thing and take it to the house after that or get big gains after that, all right, cool. I don't really care what you're doing down the field because I can just get it to you short and you are amazing after that. That can be one of the things. The second thing is intermediate. What I mean by intermediate is, can you be that unbelievable route runner that is so good at gaining separation that over the middle of the field or wherever it might be, you are open because you just gained acres of separation because of your route running ability. And now in the intermediate area of the field, I have wide open space and you're going to be open and I am going to be able to go to you consistently. You might not be the most dynamic after the catch. You might not be somebody that I can get gadget plays to, but you're going to run incredible routes, get open, have acres of separation. I'm going to be able to find you a lot. I'm not going to have to put it in risk in contested catch situations. And that's great. And then the other one is that you are able to get open deep down the field. You're Christian Watson, you're MVS, and I'm not saying that those 2 are the same, but a Tyreek Hill, whatever, Hill can obviously do a lot of the other stuff as well, but you get my point. Somebody that can stretch the field vertically. You basically need one of those 3 things. Are you dynamic after the catch? Are you an unbelievable route runner that you're just going to be open all the time? Or are you a deep ball threat that has the ability to stretch the defense with consistency? If you don't check one of those boxes, you just kind of don't have NFL upside at wide receiver. I don't care how many contested catches that you can come up with. And that's not meant again to like tear down Hicks, who I like. And I think in that, Jared Boykin, Geronimo Allison, Malik Heath sort of number 5-6 wide receiver role, he's probably fine, right? But those guys do not give you those other aspects. They don't give you the deep ball. They don't give you the route running. They don't give you the after the catch. So at some point, you're just like, all right, what's your upside at the end of the day, other than me having to throw contested balls to you and hope that you're going to come up with some crazy one-handed catches or, just some tough contested balls like that. That's what you have to bring to the table a little bit more. I'm not sure Hicks is there, but as a practice squad guy that you can elevate and need be, if you need kind of that type of player for a game, there's certainly still value there for sure. All right. Last year, Lloyd only played against the Colts, had 6 carries for 15 yards to his only game so far against the Colts. 6 carries, 15 yards. Was it the same today? Did he have 6 carries for 15 yards? That's crazy. And that was the same as last year. That's a wild, but he did have the reception in this one as well. And again, blocking in this one, probably not consistently ideal to say the least. Matt just was asked if Marshawn hurt, and he said, we'll see. Yeah, we talked about that. LaFleur did make a really dumb decision in the 2020 NFC title game by kicking that field goal. Mike McCarthy made bad decisions all the time. I will go to bat actually pretty aggressively for that decision to kick the field goal in that situation. There's a pretty good analytical approach as to why he would do that. I know people don't want to hear it, but you're a one pass defense away in that situation from getting the ball back with the opportunity for Aaron to go down and win the game. And we don't need to go into all of it. I think I probably would have gone for it. Okay. And try to get the touchdown and go for 2. If I'm in that situation, I'm going for the touchdown, and I understand why people wanted to go for the touchdown. If you actually look at the analytics of it, the decision that he made is actually not a bad one whatsoever. So yeah, it is what it is. We don't need to get into it in great detail. Prayers for Lloyd. Dude is doing the best he can to be out there. Hopefully it's much ado about nothing. We'll see. And as Matt said, we'll see. Thank goodness we got McMoney, because man, that was a tough watch. Preseason football, man. Preseason football. Was the victory pizza? What's the victory pizza today? Thin crust pepperoni, which is ultimately my favorite, the ultimate thin crust pepperoni pizza. But I literally almost made one for lunch. Not a joke. Literally almost made one for lunch. Absolutely going to have one for dinner. I am legitimately craving it, which is, yeah, that's just the way that it is when it comes to Luigi's Pizza. Prayers up for Omar Brown as well. Had you pirate the game on the Colts broadcast, don't tattle, and they didn't show who got hurt on the Packers. Yeah, looked like Marshawn Lloyd got hit and had maybe a leg injury. We don't know for sure. Omar Brown and Barron Sorrell were the 2 other injured Packers from this one. Extend Matt LaFleur another 10 years. Who besides Omar Brown and Marshawn Lloyd got hurt? Again, Barron Sorrell was the other one that we know of. It's tough not seeing the ones out there competing, given our history of slow starting. Get Gruden in the building to fire these guys up and help the culture. Sure, whatever. But we'll see. Again, this is one of those things where, imagine today, Barron Sorrell and Marshawn Lloyd, or Josh Jacobs and Rashawn Gary. Could have been in the same. I know Gary went to bet on punt coverage, but you get my point. Like, if you put the starters out there, they could be in those situations to potentially get hurt. And then you're upset because those guys got hurt in meaningless games. It's a thankless gig as a head coach, where you play your guys and they get hurt and everyone wants to fire Matt LaFleur. And then you don't play your guys and you have a slow start to the season. It's like, well, should have played guys in preseason. It's a no-win situation. I think he's trying to thread the line as best as he can, and we'll see if it works. But the big thing that he'll be judged by ultimately is, can they get wins in the season? And that starts with Detroit in week 1. Gersma, preseason MVP, can't quite get that far, but some impressive throws today for sure. Canadian Cannon, I'll take that as well. My number 2s and 3s could win 3 Super Bowls in a row. We'll see about that. They cut the game for half of the third quarter for weather updates. I was upset. I did hail like a mother, though. Yeah, I did hear that Southern Wisconsin did get it cut out quite a bit throughout the course of the game, which is never fun. Yeah, Cornelius Johnson did have a good game. Is there ever a situation where we need someone to throw another player 5 yards? Belton has got it. He's a strong dude, that's for sure. Kind of looked to me like in the beginning, Green Bay second on the O-line and D-line were going against the Indianapolis ones. With that in mind, outside of a few penalties in that area, not bad. Yeah, I thought Donovan Jennings struggled, but I thought for the most part, the rest of those guys held up pretty well given the circumstances. All right, can Jordan Love have as good of a career as Aaron Rodgers? I mean, the odds are probably not, right? It would be like, we're talking about a top 5 or 10 quarterback of all time. To just do that on a whim. I know we're spoiled here in Green Bay, but can he? Sure. Will he? I would be willing to bet quite a bit against it. That is an unreal bar to have to try to reach for any player. But could he, maybe get 2 Super Bowls instead of 1? Could there be things that he does better than Aaron? Sure. But having that career, that is a very, very tough career to try to match. Wilson is legit. So is Amar Johnson. They're both really fun backs for sure. Missing the very enticing kicking battle from last year and all the drama. McNamee, oh no. Yeah, tough day for him for sure. Watch the one time everyone thinks a trade won't happen. It's the time it actually does happen. That's usually when it happens, right? Is when we're least expecting it. I still would be very stunned if it actually happens. Lloyd can't stay healthy. Love you, Andy, but I stand by this statement. Okay. All right. Is Lloyd that much better than Johnson or Wilson? I understand he has traits and tools, but he is the football player Wilson or Johnson is. I think he has the ability to be a much more dynamic running back. Again, you're looking for playmakers. Wilson and Johnson, they're good players. I don't know how, and I know we saw a good play from Wilson today. I just think Marshawn can be so much more of a dynamic playmaker, and you give those guys a lot longer leash to try to figure that out and see if they can make that impact on Sundays. I do think if and when he gets healthy, that he can do that, but he's going to have to show that at some point. Otherwise, it's just, you don't get the promise of the potential at some point. We'll see. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to have a really nice season, but he's of course got to get out there. Love to see more pass defense in these games. They play too loose of pass protection, too many completions. All right, Ronald, don't make me tap the sign, right? Here's your decision-making matrix or whatever we want to call it. I forget what it's called. The little if this, then this thing. Do the Packers care about winning this game? No. Should you care about the Packers winning this game then? No. Do the Packers care about winning this game? Yes. Should you care about the Packers winning this game? Yes. That's your pretty easy decision tree. Once Jordan Love and all of your starters are out of this game and Green Bay does not care at all if they win, stop caring if they win. It doesn't matter. If they are trying to win, and I'm not talking about preseason, because preseason, of course, they're not trying to win. If they are trying to win a game come regular season, then yes, you should care about if they win the game or not. It's pretty simple. This is about evaluation. They are putting the most vanilla defense on the field and they're evaluating players. Simple as that. Take your eye off the ball, take your eye off the scoreboard. It would be like, are we going to give, contract extensions to LaFleur for winning this preseason game? Are we celebrating? Are there Super Bowl odds going up now because they beat the Colts in preseason? No, nothing changes. Nothing changes when they lost last week. Nothing changes when they won this week. They're not trying to win the game. So don't base decisions in the game on what they would do in a real game when this isn't a real game. It doesn't matter. They're not trying to win. They're not actively trying to even stop the other team. They're calling something very basic. They're seeing how their defense responds and if they can get off the field. Simple as that. And more often than not in these preseason games, the offense makes a mistake on the way down anyway, and you get off the field one way or the other. Yes, they're giving up a lot of completions because they don't care. They don't care. So don't worry about it, is what I would say. When does Lloyd's injury history get to the point where we might have to start having that uncomfortable conversation? Not yet. Where are all the sacks and turnovers? Again, all of that stuff is completely irrelevant in a game like this. They're trying to punch the ball out and stuff like that. I thought they did a much better job of that today, by the way, trying to rip the ball away. Those are good signs, but would you have slept better tonight if Tyron Herring picked off a pass? Would it affect anything come week one? It doesn't. And again, they're not trying actively to call the best play possible to go get an interception. They're calling a pretty basic zone or man defense and saying, hey, what do you got? Let's evaluate it. That's it. So happy we have Golden. I'm getting increasingly fed up with Watson, Wicks, and Dobbs. All right. That's what you would like to do. Did Brown get hurt? Omar Brown did get hurt. Yes. Chest injury, staying overnight in the hospital. Hopefully he's okay. Watson has talent, just needs to stay healthy. Lloyd, a much more dynamic running back than those other two. I would agree. A lot of spam today. This is just me, but I haven't really seen much at all from the run blocking. And tough to you have Sean Ryan out of position. Morgan's playing left tackle. That one's an important one. But you've got Donovan Jennings out there, and there's just backups after that, right? Anthony Belton, I thought had a couple good reps run blocking. Obviously, a lot of penalties. But not the starters out there playing in their normal positions. So outside of Morgan, maybe Sean Ryan a little bit at center and maybe Belton a little bit at right tackle. Again, this is not the line that you're going to be judging the run blocking off of. Why don't the Packers ever wear their yellow jerseys? They always have that option on Madden, but they never actually wear them. I don't think they're actually an option for Green Bay. I don't think they actually have those jerseys. I know that they're maybe in Madden as like an alternate, but that's not an actual jersey that they have. You can see it in the way he makes his cuts and just acceleration coming out of said cuts for Lloyd, for sure. Belton can clean up his errors, though. Still love his potential. Agreed. High on Lloyd, I still am. I'm just ready to see him go off. He has had brutal luck so far. I agree with everything you say there, Most High. Hopefully he can get some good injury luck one of these days. I'm high on Lloyd's attributes, low on his ability to stay healthy. He's on PUP from today. will miss the first 4 weeks. See, Lambeau Pack, if you're going to call out these things, you have to actually know how they work. You cannot put a player on PUP. You have to be on PUP to start the offseason. When you start training camp, you cannot place a player on PUP after that. So I can guarantee you that Marshawn Lloyd will not be going on PUP today because it's impossible to put him on PUP today, nor would you put him on injured reserve today because you can't put him on injured reserve or he would be done for the season. So if you would like to put him on injured reserve and make him out for the first 4 weeks, first of all, he has to actually have an injury or the player can file a grievance. Or even if you did at this point, he would then be out for the year, which again, he's not going to be actually out for the year. So then you'd actually have to waive him injured, which then he'd be subject to waivers and you're not going to want to do that either. So your theory here does not hold up. I expected better coverage from Simmons. I thought it would take some time for him to figure out the run fits, but I figured he could cover the middle of the field better, especially in man coverage. It's been a chore. I'll put it that way for him in coverage so far. All right, friends, I'm going to get to member and super chats from here because I do have to get out of here as we need to get to rewatching this game and everything else. Andy, sorry I'm late. Please start over so I can get caught up. I cannot, but I can guarantee you that you do have the ability to restart and go start from the beginning. I agree with the urgency energy take, Andy. I disagree with it, but that's okay. We can agree to disagree. The storms are going crazy here north of Madison. Hope you guys are okay. Sure, it's been asked before, but what's the picture behind you? It's just I don't know. I found it online, and it's a play from County Stadium, Colts Packers, appropriate for today, I guess. Went to my local county market for Luigi's ultra thin crust pepperoni and sausage pizza. Love that for you. Enjoy the heck out of that. Morgan did play early in the game at left tackle, and yeah, what I initially saw is it looked like he looked solid. That 100% was not a touchdown. He didn't survive the ground. When he hit the ground, the ball came loose. That's what I kind of thought as well, John. But again, I don't ultimately probably care all that much. Elgersma definitely did not beat out Willis for the number 2 quarterback spot, nor even close. I think Melton's, and thank you for the super chat though, Whalers. Appreciate that. I think Melton's transition tells you a lot about his football IQ, and I've seen the overreaction for this week, Andy. I saw people saying Belton played his last game as a Packer. There you go. We found it. Jelani Woods equals Dez. Yes, very similar type of play. Thank you for the super chat. I feel better about where the Packers are today when compared to last week. Progress. Yeah, I think it's actually funny. And I think this is where you just have to be more process-oriented than actually result-oriented. My guess, I don't know this for sure, but my guess is there actually might be some worse performances from the players that matter most and injuries to guy like Barron Sorrell, Marshawn Lloyd, Omar Brown that are worse than maybe anything we saw a week ago. So we might feel better about the scoreboard, but I think some of the young performances in this one might actually be worse, and there's actually injuries from this one. So I get how it feels. It does, I think, feel better just naturally because there was an actual win and just a more competitive game, but it might actually not be a better performance from players that we actually care about going into the season in this one. BCS Too Tough, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Where are all those Willis should be the starter folks out there? Again, this is a tough spot for Willis when you're not having receivers or offensive line out there. If he was playing with the ones, it would probably look a little bit different. But yes, that entire narrative is something. I'll put it that way. Remember, too, Lloyd was running behind a number 2 offensive line against the ones of Indianapolis for sure. Again, you can't glean a whole heck of a lot from it. What do you attribute to being injury prone? Not saying Lloyd is, still early days, but what would you attribute to injury issues? That's the thing is I don't think you can, I don't think there's anything that you can predict and or say one way or the other if a player is quote unquote injury prone or not. Ultimately, you are judged by your ability to be out on the field. That's the key to this, right? So I hold umbrage for the term injury prone. I don't think any player is maybe more likely to get, there probably are players who are more likely to get injured than others. I don't think it's a tangible thing that you can measure. If you can figure out a formula for measuring the likelihood of a player getting hurt based on stuff, of course, if you're smaller, but like Lloyd is shorter, Lloyd is built like he is a, a big physical, like he's got enough bulk on him. That's not a question. And the way that he runs is physical as well. So, if there's a formula for that you want to figure out and show it to me, I will be all ears. I don't think that's a thing that you can point to. I do think if you've had a lot of injuries previously, sometimes that does carry over. There probably is some proof to that. But at the end of the day, injury prone, not injury prone, you have to be out there. And Lloyd has not been able to do that so far. It sucks. I struggle more with putting that on the player. Like it's his fault. What the hell is Marshawn Lloyd doing? What is he thinking getting hurt? All right. I don't think he's trying to, guys. I think he's probably trying everything in his power to be out there on the field and has unfortunately had some bad injury luck so far. If I get word that, yeah, he is not somebody who can play through pain and, whatever, that's not the case here with Marshawn Lloyd at all, by all accounts. And so it is what it is. And you just hope that he can get healthy and make an impact on this team. But his career will be gauged and judged by what he can do out on the field. And if you're not out on the field, it's tough to put together a pretty good career in that instance. So I don't think injury prone, but it's definitely been his availability has been a major issue so far. I would just look at it from a past tense rather than a future tense when it comes to that stuff. That's my preference of looking at it. Manuel Wilson has pretty much always looked good. Yeah, I totally agree with that, Ben. He's just one of those players you enjoy having on the team, and he plays well pretty much every time he gets an opportunity. I thought Morgan played well at first glance, but those are always ones that you have to take a little bit more time on. But I thought in pass pro and in run blocking early on in this game, he looked good. Excited to go and see if hopefully the all 22 matches the initial impression. Ian, thanks for being here, and thank you for the super chat. First of all, thanks for doing these lives today. Do you think Green Bay considers a vet interior offensive lineman due to Monk Jennings struggling, closer to cutdowns maybe? The issue is you can't find offensive linemen at this point of the year. That's a really difficult thing to do. There's just not much out there. And if there is somebody that ultimately gets released at cutdown time that they think is better than somebody that they have as their 8th or 9th lineman, then yes, I think they could go that route and try to maybe claim somebody off of waivers. Is it safe to say Elgersma is ahead of Clifford at this point for number 3? I would not say that quite yet. I'll go back and watch this one and for Elgersma too, but no, I thought he actually was go watch how panicked and happy feet he was just behind center. The game is very, very, very fast for him right now. He has more upside than Clifford. We talked about this prior to the start of the show, where this is a question of, do you want the guy that understands the offense better, can make the checks and all that sort of stuff, that's a little bit more calm, or do you want the guy with higher upside that isn't ready yet, but he's got the arm and the talent maybe down the road? I think there's a chance that you could have both those guys in the practice squad, but I would put Clifford ahead of Elgersma at this point. Tristan, thank you so much for becoming a new YouTube member. Really appreciate that. Love what you've been doing, Andy. Became a fan of the podcast after the season was over. Keep it up and go Pack Go. Tristan, thank you so much for that. And again, thank you for becoming a member. I also take umbrage with anyone who says so-and-so can't stay healthy, as if the player is consciously unwilling to remain injury-free. It's just bad luck. Here's the thing. Maybe it's not bad luck. Maybe he has bad bones, bad ligaments, bad whatever. I don't know how to tell that. I don't know how to measure that. Nor does the NFL, apparently, because if they did, they would just not take those players. They'd be like, yep, that guy's going to get hurt and out of the league. And if they do get an inkling of that, they do it. Brett Favre wasn't supposed to make it more than a couple of years. And look what happened there. And we hear those stories all the time. Maurice Hurst had the heart issue that was potentially, he's still playing in the league. Like, these things are just not easy to tell. And if you could, I would be like, yeah, hey, the doctors, the doctors say he's never going to be able to be healthy. All right, well then probably stay away from that guy. But I don't know how to measure that, so I'm not going to call out a guy for it when I don't know how to do anything other than say, was he out on the field or not? So far in Marshawn Lloyd's career, he's not been able to stay healthy. That sucks. What he does moving forward, we're going to have to wait and see, and hopefully has better injury luck than he's had so far. I do think Simmons makes the 53, but he is on some shaky ground right now. Christian Welch had a nice day. Either way, bad bones or whatever in those situations, it's not like the player is in control. Totally, a 1,000,000% agreed, Ben. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying as well. Yeah, so just really tough to judge anyone based on any of that. All right, friends, that is going to do it for me. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for being here. We've had over 700 people in chat for this. Cannot thank you enough. We'll be back tomorrow for the full breakdown of the game, and then members only Q&A tomorrow at 7 p.m. So those 10 people that Carla gifted and anyone who signed up to become a new member or is a member already, we'll have the members Q&A tomorrow, I believe, again, 7 p.m. Central Time. Hope to see you guys there. Sign up for those memberships if you have not done so already. Thank you to Luigi's for sponsoring today's show. Again, ultra thin crust is what I'm doing today for my victory pizza. Hope you guys enjoy one as well. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.